Listening to KDKR, Decatur, Dallas, Fort Worth, and KYJC Commerce.
Portions of KDKR's daily programming do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, the Fed acts and the markets fall. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. I do have a line open if you'd like to call in and ask a question. The number is 1-877-913-5357, 1-877-913-5357. You can also go to the website, which a lot of people are doing, sending questions through the Ask Bob section of prudentmoney.com. I got to tell you, I love getting the questions. I love answering the questions. I love hearing what's on your mind. And if I can help out in any way, I want to do so. Really, just try me. Ask Bob, that you'll find a link to go to that. And that's at prudentmoney.com. 1-877-913-5357. Well, tough day today, another tough day today on Wall Street, I might add. The S&P 500 was down 3.24%. The Dow Jones was down 2.41%. And the NASDAQ was down 4.08%. Now, interestingly enough, all this talk about a bear market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has not hit, it's close, but has not crossed bear market territory quite yet. The NASDAQ has been there for a long, long time. And I think it's like 34-35% down. The S&P 500 is squarely into a bear market too. So lots to talk about today. Let's start off with a phone call and talk to Eugene from Fort Worth. Eugene, good to hear from you. How you been?
Well, we've been up in Oklahoma City, retired out of the job in September, and moved up to Oklahoma City, and we're back down here for a couple of days. I figured I'll just tune in to see what Mr. Bob Brooks is all about. So anyway, just say hi, and yeah, my 401k was doing good, but no more. But that's just the way it is. Of course, the old saying is that you don't lose until you sell, right?
Well, that's true. It's definitely a tough time for investors right now.
Yes, sir. So anyway, so I just thought I'd just stop in and just say hi, and you have a blessed week, and tell Tony Joe to say hi tomorrow, and because we've got to head back north tomorrow morning. So anyway, so you have a blessed weekend, and you should just take care of yourself, and I'm glad to hear that you're still on the radio.
Hey, thanks a lot, Eugene. Always good to hear from you.
All right. Thank you much. You have a blessed day.
You too. 1-877-913-5357. Eugene is a frequent caller to the program. He moved and left us, though. Moved to Oklahoma City, I believe. And always good to hear from him, and appreciate you, Eugene, and through all the years of listening to the program. You can still catch us on the internet, even though you're in Oklahoma City. By the way, listen online. Or, I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy either. You can still listen to us on podcast. So there's lots of ways to connect. But great to hear from you, Eugene. Thanks for calling in. 1-877-913-5357. That is the number to call. And I do have a line open. So here we are with the markets. Do you realize in the month of June, let me speak to the S&P 500, because as you know, that's really the only one I followed that closely. The S&P 500 is down a little over 12%. 12% in the month of June. And we're only 16 days into the month of June. So this follows the same pattern as did last month. The Federal Reserve Board, as you know, we talk about this, announces whether they're going to leave interest rates where they are, whether they're going to raise interest rates, whether they're going to lower interest rates. And they, of course, raised interest rates 0.75%. The market just took off. And it's funny to me. I look at that and I go, of course, there's things that the market does. You kind of shake your head and you just don't know. Just can't believe. But I look at why in the world would investors be excited that the Federal Reserve Board just raised interest rates. Now, they know going into it that the Federal Reserve Board was going to raise interest rates of some type. Highly unlikely would it be 0.5%. Highly unlikely it'd be a full percent. More than likely it would be 0.75%, which is what they did. And so, just like last month, the Federal Reserve Board raised interest rates, and I can't remember if it was 0.5% or 0.75%, but they raised interest rates. Market went up through the balance of the day, then just cratered the next day. And that's what happened again this time around. The market went up yesterday after the decision. Had about S&P 500 was up about 1.5%, and then cratered today. So there's this debate going on. In fact, there's a lot of things going on, and your success as an investor, your survival as a investor, is going to depend upon one thing, and that is that you get a good interpretation of what's being said, a good understanding of what's being said. And this is one of the reasons why I am quickly at the last minute putting together a webinar that is addressing all this. So we're in a bear market, now what? Because you don't have to lose money in a bear market. You don't have to be on the roller coaster. There's things that you can do. There's, number one, I think it's incredibly important to know how bear markets work. There's a rhyme and a reason to the way that they go up and down. And it's important that you understand that to help you make good decisions about that. There's also one type of investment that has historically gone up in bear markets that you may not know about, that you might be able to take advantage of. And then third, what do you do at this point in time? You certainly don't just want to sit back and do nothing. So we made sure and made this webinar short. So it's 30 minutes with a Q&A following. And I will answer questions as long as you need me to. So we're doing it on June 22nd at 10 a.m., June 23rd at 11 a.m., and June 24th at 12 noon. Hoping one of those times will, same exact webinar 3 times next week. We want to make sure that you understand what most people are not getting, because they're getting information straight from the media, and I would suggest that you need to take that, process it, interpret it, but you need to know how to do that. I'm going to teach you how. So go to prudentmoney.com and sign up for one of those webinars, And we will see you then. But watching what's going on, staying up on what pop culture finance is feeding the masses, I decided at the very last minute to do a webinar this week and doing it next week. Usually we have a lot more lead time and planning time, but thought I'd throw one together. So the debate is in that everyone is predicting a recession. Everyone has predicted a bear market, which I would beg to differ. But the recession, everybody's pretty much on we're definitely going to have a recession and it's going to happen. And that just doesn't happen. The old saying goes, when everyone thinks alike, everyone's usually wrong. But I got to thinking about this. And I think that there are some instances where the evidence is so strong and so convicting that, everybody's prediction might be right. In fact, we may be in a recession. Now, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit skeptical of what economic reports come out between now and the elections, because I think they're going to make sure that those don't look so bad. I wish it weren't that way, but I think it will be that way. But I think about it from the standpoint of the weather. The weather offers so many good analogies for understanding the stock market. We'll get to that in a second. 1-877-913-5357. This is Bob Brooks. Stick around. I'll be right back.
The Word for Today is excited to announce the new official online home for the ministry of Pastor Chuck Smith and Kay Smith, pastorchuck.org. At pastorchuck.org, you'll have instant access to thousands of hours of verse-by-verse teaching by Pastor Chuck Smith from Genesis through Revelation, and full access to special messages on subjects such as prophecy and much, much more. Also at pastorchuck.org, a full library of great teachings by Kay Smith, and a section where you can read some of Pastor Chuck's books online, all free of charge. So visit the new official online home of the Word for Today and the ministry of Pastor Chuck and Kay Smith. pastorchuck.org.
Hi, this is Bob Brooks, host of the Prudent Money Radio Show. Well, the stock market is in a confirmed bear market. What do you need to know? Well, first you need to know how bear markets really work. Second, an investment that has consistently made money in past bear markets. And third, what steps to take today. In a 30-minute webinar presentation, I will take the complicated study of bear markets and make it relatable so anyone can understand. I'll be presenting this webinar 3 times the week of June 20th. This will give us just the right amount of time to learn what you need to know. Plus, we'll be doing a live Q&A at the end. Stay off of the investment roller coaster because you don't need to lose money in a bear market. To sign up, go to prudentmoney.com for more information.
Throughout our study in Colossians, I've asked a very important question. What difference does the gospel make in your life? Because for followers of Jesus, every area of our lives should reflect His Lordship. People should see a difference. We're thinking of this marvelous transformation of the gospel. Friday on The Verdict.
Listen 10:30 a.m. on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show, 1-877-913-5357. Okay, so this is a lot like, and I always think about snow forecast. And everybody's convinced it's going to snow. Kids are preparing for a day off. The weatherman is predicting snow. Everybody is on the same page. What happens? It doesn't snow. or it doesn't snow enough, or it doesn't get cold enough, school's on, work's on, nobody's going to get the free day. Then I think about Snowmageddon. And I don't know about you, but it was February 2020, I believe, now that as I think back. Or February 2021. No, I'm sorry. It was February 2021. And I think about the predictions of and how obvious it was that it was going to get shut. The world was going to shut down, at least in Texas. And I was just sitting there thinking about how nice it will be to have 2 or 3 days at the house as we're kind of all snowed in. Never even thought about the fact that the power would be out. But it was a lot worse than it ended up even we imagined. I think that the circumstances are a lot more obvious this time around. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk to Mike in Dallas. Hey, Mike, welcome to the program. What's on your mind today?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I just was wondering, would you consider doing a show sometime about income investing? I'm close to retirement, and I have money that I guess I was lucky, but I moved most of my money, my 401k and things, in the last year, and put it in a
good for you
money market account.
Good for you.
Yeah, I got extremely lucky. Yeah, but I was just wondering, would you do a program sometime on income investing? Because I want my money to work for me, and it doesn't do a whole lot sitting in a money market account.
Oh no, it doesn't. Yes, and the answer to your question is I tell you what, Mike, I will do one next week, and if you send me an email and tell me some of the things you want to hear about, I will include it. I haven't done it. I haven't done a show.
Do that.
I haven't done it. It's bob@prudentmoney.com, or you can go to the website prudentmoney.com. I haven't done a program on income investing in a while, so I'll be happy to.
All righty. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate your call and appreciate the suggestion. So I definitely will do that. I'm sure a lot of people will.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. 1-877-913-5357. I really, probably more than you imagine, do appreciate the requests, because it's always good to know what everybody wants to hear, wants me to discuss. And like I said, I haven't done an income program in a while, and there's a lot of really good topics to be had when it comes to income. Things you need to be careful about too. Plus, it's a dicey time for income right now with the bond market being where it is. So, yeah, Mike, just send me an email and tell me some things you're interested in hearing, and I will make sure and cover all that. And I appreciate you. Good move getting out towards the end of the year. And I'll tell you that that is a tough decision and a tough call to make. But I think once you're getting close to retirement, it's such an important decision to be even more careful about risk. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, what we're up against. And you tell me whether or not the chances are good. Because for a recession, the bottom line is I've been watching this stuff it'll be 30 years this month. Been very blessed to be able to get to do this and have the opportunity to talk about, especially on the radio. Never saw that coming. That God just really blessed me with that opportunity. I've been watching this stuff for so long, and I usually have an opinion both ways, and I cannot come up with a way in my mind that they can prevent us from going into a recession. But we've got crazy inflation. We've got a war that has been pretty quiet, but it's causing ancillary problems. We got supply chain issues. We got an agenda, depending who you ask, depending who you talk to change America. I personally believe that that's happening. Interest rates, you got the Federal Reserve Board with all these problems. You got Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell towing the line, saying our economy is strong, when everything else would beg to differ. I get it. He's got to say that. But he's out there cranking interest rates up to stop inflation. And yeah, I can't make that well, it does make sense, kind of. But then you've got Americans surely are going to be cutting back on traveling, cutting back on entertainment, cutting back on driving. And you got to remember something, is that we all, because of COVID, know how to stay home. It's not that difficult. And to top it all off, we've got a Congress and a White House that is doing nothing about it. I hate to be so negative. I'm just saying, and this leads up to what I get and what I'm seeing and reading in articles about bear markets from Pop Culture Finance. And what the articles are saying two things. Mainly, this isn't going to be a big deal. You'll get through it. And this is normal. And they'll show up a picture, a long-term picture of the stock market, and they'll show the losses of bear markets. This is just normal stuff. Well, it is just normal stuff. It is a normal cycle. We talk about this cycle all the time. But let me give you an analogy. Tornadoes are normal. They're a normal part of the weather patterns. There's a season where you'll see, well, I think we're maybe still in it, or maybe not, but definitely April and May, where you see more of them than you do the other parts of the year. So if a tornado, which is normal, is over, there's a funnel cloud over your house, which that last major system, there was actually a funnel cloud that crossed over my house. Would you be sitting in the living room watching television, or would you be in your bathtub or in an interior room and hoping that you don't get hurt? You would be preserving life, wouldn't you? You'd be doing everything you could do to survive that particular situation that is normal, because the good comes with the bad. Just like the markets, the good comes with the bad. Can't have bull markets without bear markets. Well, it's the same thing. You're going to do everything. My point, let me back it up and say it this way. My point is, this isn't a good, this isn't a bad, this is normal. This is what happens. But are you going to take the steps to come out okay on the other side, or are you going to take the 50? I think we'll see 50-55% losses. But I'm going to go over all that, and once again, you can sign up at next week, or you can sign up today. For next week. That we're going to be doing it 3 times. The webinar, and I'll be going over all that. But I think it's one of those things where we just have had, there's too many components of risk that have developed. And that is what the problem is. And they're all, it's kind of like the perfect storm, if you will. And being able to squeak by without any problems with the perfect storm having formed, I think is a little unrealistic. But it is what it is, and it's important to do the things you need to do to be a good steward of what God's given you. Hey, this is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.